Samantha from Jessima Tutorials here, and today I'm going to show you how to create a cute pair of earrings using a silkscreen and alcohol ink pens. Now the trick today is going to be to actually bake the clay first before applying the ink, because that way the inks will have more of a blooming effect when they're used. Okay, now to start off with, I'm using white Primo Polymer Clay, and I have chosen a silkscreen that I am going to be using, and it's specifically this pattern over here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to silkscreen this first, and then I'm going to apply alcohol inks over the top once it's been baked, and that should not cause any problems with the paint, and I'll show you what I mean a little later. But you can use any silkscreen you want. It does not need to be this one. This is one of the ones that I design and sell on my Etsy store, Jessima Design, if you're interested, but feel free to use any silkscreen you want. That was acrylic black paint, and I'm just going to smudge that across the surface. Like so. And then lift that up. And then just go clean that immediately. Okay, and I've just got that rinsed off using a sink of water. Just grabbing a blade. And that can sit and dry. And then this I'm going to lift up, and this also needs to be set to the side to dry. But you can see there what the pattern looks like. And I would actually advise silkscreening the opposite side as well, because we're going to be making a pair of earrings, and it's nice when there is a double-sided effect. Now I'm going to take a piece of black polymer clay, and I'm going to do the exact same thing, except I'm going to be using white acrylic paint instead of the black. So do that and silkscreen on both sides as well. And there we go. There are both of the pieces finished in black and white on both sides. And now I am going to use those to create our earrings. And I'm going to just bring over a separate tile, and this will make it a little easier to cut out what I want. And I think I'm going to do this one first, so I'll place that down on the tile, gently press with my fingers to get it to stick. Okay, and this one I'll just pop to the side for the moment, and I'm going to bring over two circle cutters, and this I'm going to use to create a ring from this so that we can use it as the top of our earring. And so I'm going to start out with the smaller of the two, and actually no, I'm doing that incorrectly. That's for the black. This is for the white. I'm going to use this little capsule cutter. Just cut, and I'm just choosing a spot where I'm not going to have too much of the black, because I want plenty of the white to show through so that I can colour it later. Okay, then just lift that up, and there you go, you got your two pieces. And let me see if I can lift that up and out of the way. There you can see how that looks. And I'm going to just lift those up and off the tile and pop them onto a piece of paper off to the side, and then just clean off that tile because there's going to be some paint residue from cutting. Alright, and then I'm going to bring over the black, and that is what I am going to use for the rings, because you're not going to be able to colour this because the alcohol ink won't show up against the black. Okay, and I'll bring over the circle cutter and start with the small one. Just cut that out, and then I will use anything to just poke that out, and then grab this and center it. Okay, and I think that's centered. Cut, and there we go, you got yourself a little donut. And then you're going to repeat that process, cutting out a middle. If I do that right, I can actually pick that up and then center. And there we go, that should do. Then just lift that up, and you can still use all of those pieces. I've just cut out what I need from them. And then I'll bring over these, and this is going to go into the oven for about 40 minutes at Primo's recommended temperature. And then once that's done, we're going to colour these two with alcohol inks, and maybe do a little bit of sanding. These are going to need some sanding along the edges, but yeah, it should be fairly simple. And here they are out of the oven. And as they are, they look pretty decent. If you find anything along the edges that you want to clean up, you could just run your craft knife along very quickly, or you can give it a sand, one of the two. I'm going to put this piece to the side, and I'm going to focus on colouring this piece, and I'm going to show you what it should look like at the end of this, because I have already done the other piece. And this is essentially what I am going to be going for. It's kind of a tie-dye effect. And I am going to leave the back side of each piece plain white. That way you can wear the earrings so that only one rainbow side is showing, or you can have it so both rainbow sides are showing. But that's what I'm going to be doing. Now, for this you can use any alcohol ink you want. It does not need to be alcohol ink pens. I do find that it is easier if you use alcohol ink pens. And this is the brand that I am using, so that you can see there. And let me see, can I show you there? There you can see the numbers over there. Alright, and those are the ones that I'm going to be using to get the colours that I want. And it's really quite a nice simple process. You just start with one of the colours, and don't scrub. You want to tap down on the surface, and the reason for that is because the paint can still get lifted up, because the alcohol in the alcohol ink can dissolve the paint. So you want to just tap onto the surface. If you rub it onto the surface, you are going to end up losing paint, and you're going to find a really muddy effect. Then you want to choose the colour that you want to mix with it, and in this case I want to use yellow, and I'm just going to tap that down separate from the blue to start with, so that I have a pure version of each colour. And then you're going to start mixing the two together, and you can see there that it starts to create green. And so when working with the alcohol inks, before actually applying them to your clay, use a little piece of paper off to the side to test that the colours mix together nicely, because sometimes they can form a muddy appearance, and you really want to try to avoid that. So definitely test your colours before starting. And that's essentially the process. You're just going to go through that piece of clay, adding in your colours at random, blending them together as you go. And yeah, just have fun. It's really nice and simple. And then once you're done popping the colours down, I would advise leaving it for about 5 minutes to dry. And then once that's dried, pop it into the oven for about 5 minutes, just to get that alcohol ink to dry completely and set a little bit onto the surface. It's not going to set it completely. I'm going to need to apply varnish, but it will help prevent it from moving too much when we do go to apply the varnish. And again, bear in mind you can just use regular inks if you want. And there we go. That's how they both have ended up looking. And they've just come out of the oven. You can see they've still got a glossy shine to them because of the ink, but they should be pretty much dry to the touch now. Now I've decided to seal them with resin. Now whether you do seal them with resin or varnish, be prepared for the ink to run a little bit. I find that that is just something that happens when you place the ink directly onto baked clay, because it hasn't really had a chance to actually absorb into the clay, and that is why you have to seal it. And I'm going to be using this UV resin right here, and I'm just going to apply that to the surface. And the less you move the resin around, the less the ink will run. So try to spread it around without applying too much scraping movement. And I'm also going to apply resin to the two little donuts as well. Then you're going to place that under the UV light for about 15 minutes, and then they should be just about good to go. Alright, and here is how it looks once the UV resin has been applied. Now, something I do want to point out is the slight colour change in the purple and pink hues. You might be able to see that that actually is showed up against the black. That is something that I find does happen with the reddish tones of alcohol ink, so it is something to keep in mind. There hasn't really been any other colour shift, and there hasn't really been any bleeding in the colours either, so overall the effect has stayed very similar to what it was before. And then here is how the donut came out. Now, I've already drilled holes for this one, and I have the jump rings and the air wire ready. And all we're going to do is you're going to grab a little pin drill, and this is just a handheld one. You can use a motorized one as well, whatever you're comfortable with. And you're just going to drill a hole. And it can be a little slow at first, especially if you've got resin on the surface. So just be patient with it. Once you've got through the resin layer, it will drill through quite a bit quicker. And then you will do this exact same thing for the donut. And the donut is going to need two holes because we're going to connect one to this piece and then one to the wire. And there we go, that should be just about enough. And then just go through a couple of times to really make sure that hole is nice and clear. And there we go, nice and simple. Then you're going to grab a jump ring, and I'm using a larger one because I'm going to connect both this coloured piece and the donut together. And I'm using gunmetal findings because I feel like that is a good colour for today. I'm having trouble finding this other hole here. Let me see, maybe it didn't clean out properly. There we go. And yeah, you'll just connect everything together. It shouldn't take too much time. And yeah, let me know what you thought about this project in the comments below. It's a little different from what I usually make. It's a bit more kind of 80s retro, which is something that I quite like. So that's nice. But yeah, that is pretty much it. I just quickly did the last of that, and that's how it should look. And you can see it's completely double-sided, so it's up to you if you want to go with the kind of rainbow tie-dye effect. But you can use this technique in a range of different colours. You can use different silk screens. There's a bunch of different ways that you could do this. But yeah, that is just about it. Let me know what you think in the comments below. If you have questions, let me know and I'll answer them as soon as possible. And consider checking out my Etsy store, Jessima Design, where I sell things such as the cutters and the silk screens that I used in today's video. Another good way to support the channel so I can continue creating videos just like this one is to become a member. There is a join button just below this video. Leaving a like and subscribing is also another great way to help out. But yeah, that is just about it. I do hope that you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.